The notification lit up my phone at 11:47 p.m., just as I was debugging the most soul-crushing piece of code I'd written in my 15-year career. My wife Olivia's message glowed on the screen. "Don't worry, honey, it's just a girls' trip with shopping and spa treatments. Love you." I stared at those words until they burned into my retinas. Just a girls' trip. Right. Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My name is Ryan Mitchell, and I'm 35 years old with the emotional intelligence of a brick and the cynicism of a divorce lawyer. I write software for a living, which means I spend my days solving problems that shouldn't exist, created by people who shouldn't be employed. It's honest work, even if it gradually erodes your belief in people. But this message? This was different. This was my wife lying to my face through a screen, and doing it so casually that she might as well have texted me her grocery list. I typed back, "Hopefully the shopping and spa will be paid for by someone else." Sarcasm was my default setting, especially when my gut was telling me something was very, very wrong. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, "Haha, you're so funny. See you Sunday?" No heart emoji. No, miss you already. Just a dismissal wrapped in fake cheerfulness. I set my phone down and looked around our pristine living room. Everything was smart and connected and soulless. The Alexa device blinked at me from the kitchen counter like a digital eye, waiting for commands I'd never give. The 75-inch TV took up most of one wall, flanked by speakers so powerful they could probably stir the departed, though they mostly echoed nonsense. This was supposed to be our dream home in Millbrook Heights, the kind of tech-heavy suburb where everyone drove Teslas and pretended their marriages were as perfect as their credit scores. All glass and steel and carefully manicured lawns that screamed, "We're successful," to anyone driving by. But success, I was learning, was just another word for expensive loneliness. I grabbed a beer from the smart refrigerator that could probably do my taxes but couldn't tell me why my wife was lying, and opened Instagram. Call it masochistic curiosity, but I needed to see what Olivia was really up to. There she was, posted just 2 hours ago, standing at some upscale rooftop bar, arms around 3 other women I recognized from her office. The caption read, "Girls' Night Out. Yarhal, blessed shall friendship, sal, living my best life." But here's the thing about being married to someone for 8 years. You learn to read between the lines, and the lines in this photo were screaming at me. First, Olivia was wearing her red dress, the one she called her confidence dress, the one she only wore when she wanted to make an impression. Not exactly spa weekend attire. Second, there were men in the background, lots of them. One in particular caught my attention. A tall guy with perfectly styled hair and a smile that probably cost more than my car payment. He was looking at Olivia like she was the last slice of pizza at a college party. I zoomed in on the photo, using every pixel-enhancing trick I knew. The guy looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. Something about that smug expression made my skin crawl. My phone buzzed. A direct message from Tommy Chen, my old friend who ran a boxing gym downtown. Tommy was an ex-cop with a talent for seeing through bullshit and a network of contacts that would make the NSA jealous. "Dude, you need to see this." Attached was a video, clearly shot from across a crowded bar. Shaky phone camera work, but the subject was crystal clear. My wife, laughing and touching the arm of Mr. Perfect Hair from the Instagram photo. They were standing close. Too close. The kind of close that meant something. My beer suddenly tasted like cardboard. I watched the video 3 more times, each viewing making my stomach sink lower. The guy's face finally clicked. Jake Morrison. We'd gone to college together, back when I was young enough to think the world owed me something and stupid enough to believe it might actually deliver. Jake had been everything I wasn't. Rich, connected, effortlessly charming. The kind of guy who got what he wanted because he'd never learned that no was a possibility. He'd also been the guy who'd stolen my girlfriend junior year, back when I thought heartbreak was the worst thing that could happen to a person. Funny how naive you can be at 20. Now here he was, 15 years later, apparently working on an encore performance. I typed back to Tommy. "Where was this taken?" "The Meridian, downtown, about an hour ago." The Meridian was a 40-minute drive from our house, which meant Olivia had lied about being out of town, lied about the girls' trip, and was currently somewhere across the city with my old college nemesis. I sat back in my ergonomic office chair and felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest. Not anger, exactly, something more calculating, more dangerous. Because here's what Jake Morrison didn't know about me. I wasn't the same insecure kid he'd humiliated in college. 15 years in tech had taught me patience, strategy, and the fine art of finding people's weaknesses and exploiting them. And right now, I was very interested in finding his. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I did what any self-respecting tech professional would do when faced with a personal crisis. I gathered data. By 3 a.m., I had Jake Morrison's entire digital life spread across my monitors like a dissection. LinkedIn profile, Senior Vice President, Morrison Financial Group. Daddy's company, naturally. Instagram, gym selfies and expensive restaurant check-ins. Facebook, privacy settings tighter than his wallet, but I had my ways. The picture that emerged was exactly what I'd expected. Jake had grown up to be a finance bro with more money than sense, the kind of guy who wore $1,000 suits to intimidate baristas and drove a Tesla because it made him feel environmentally conscious while still being obnoxiously expensive. But everyone has cracks in their perfect facade, and I was good at finding cracks. My phone rang at 7:30 a.m. Olivia's ringtone, "Girls just want to have fun," which now seemed like a cosmic joke. "Morning, honey." Her voice was bright and artificial, like a customer service recording. "Just wanted to check in before our spa day." I could hear traffic in the background. City traffic, not the gentle suburban hum of whatever resort she was supposedly visiting. "How's the spa?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "Oh, it's amazing. So relaxing. Sarah and I are about to get couples massages." Sarah. That would be Sarah Kim, her coworker and alleged best friend. According to Instagram, Sarah was currently at her mother's house in Portland, posting pictures of homemade kimchi. "That sounds great," I said. "Take lots of pictures." "I will. Love you." She hung up before I could respond. Not that I had anything to say. What do you tell someone who's lying so badly that it's almost insulting? I made coffee and checked my email. 17 messages from work, all of them urgent, all of them actually routine nonsense that could wait until Monday. The modern corporate world ran on manufactured anxiety and the illusion that everything was a crisis. But I had a real crisis now, and it was time to handle it like the professional problem solver I was. First step, reconnaissance. I drove to the Meridian Hotel, a gleaming tower of glass and steel that catered to business travelers with expense accounts and cheating spouses with guilty consciences. The valet parking was full of luxury cars, each one a monument to someone's midlife crisis. Jake's Tesla was easy to spot. Model S in midnight black, license plate JMFIN1, subtle as a brick through a window. I parked across the street and waited. Patience was something I'd learned from years of debugging code. Sometimes you had to sit and watch and let the system reveal its flaws. At 11:15 a.m., they emerged from the hotel lobby like they owned the place. Jake, looking exactly as smug as I remembered, wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's rent, and Olivia, radiant in a way I hadn't seen in months, hanging on his arm like he was her personal life preserver. They were comfortable together. Too comfortable. This wasn't a first date or a chance encounter. This was something that had been building for a while. I followed them to brunch at some trendy place with exposed brick and a menu full of words like artisanal and locally sourced. I sat 3 tables away, hidden behind a newspaper like some discount private investigator, and watched my wife feed strawberries to another man. The rage I'd been expecting finally showed up, but it was cold and focused. Surgical, almost. I wasn't going to scream or make a scene or do anything that would give them the satisfaction of seeing me broken. No, I was going to be much more creative than that. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Not for evidence, I had plenty of that already. This was for documentation, for planning, for the moment when I would need to remind them exactly how this had all started. They stayed at brunch for 2 hours, talking and laughing like they were the only 2 people in the world. Jake kept touching her hand, her arm, her face. Olivia kept looking at him like he was the answer to every question she'd ever had. When they finally left, I was ready. I'd already located Jake's car and done a little creative problem solving. Nothing illegal, mind you. Nothing that would leave permanent damage. Just a small reminder that actions have consequences. I waited until they were safely inside whatever hotel room they'd booked for their afternoon activities, then walked over to the Tesla. The tires were fine. I'm not a monster. But the windshield now featured a carefully crafted message in washable paint. "Hope you packed your dignity." And tucked under the windshield wiper was a note for Olivia. "Enjoying your spa day? Your loving husband." Then I went home and waited for my phone to ring. The call came at 4:17 p.m. Jake, not Olivia. His voice was tight with barely controlled anger. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" "I'm sorry, who is this?" I kept my voice pleasant, professional, the same tone I used with difficult clients. You know damn well who this is. That little stunt with my car. Oh, Jake. Jake Morrison, right? Wow, it's been years. How are you doing? I heard you were in town. Silence on the other end. I could practically hear him recalculating his approach. Look, Ryan, we need to talk. Do we? About what? You know what? I really don't. Are you having car trouble? Because I know a great mechanic. More silence. Then, this doesn't have to get ugly. What doesn't have to get ugly? I'm confused. Are you calling about my wife? Because she's at a spa this weekend, girls' trip. Very relaxing from what I hear. I hung up and immediately blocked his number. Let him stew on that for a while. Olivia called 20 minutes later. Ryan, what is going on? Her voice was shrill now, the fake cheerfulness completely gone. Hi, honey. How's the spa? Getting those couples massages with Sarah? Don't play games with me. Games? I'm not playing games. I'm just wondering how Sarah managed to get to your spa so quickly, considering she's been posting pictures from Portland all weekend. The silence stretched between us like a tightrope. Finally, I can explain. I'm sure you can. You always were creative. Ryan, please, let's talk about this when I get home. When will that be? Tonight? Tomorrow? Or are you planning to extend your spa weekend? I'll be home tonight. Great, I'll be here, in our house. The one we bought together. The one with the mortgage we both signed. I hung up and poured myself a scotch. The good stuff, the bottle we'd been saving for a special occasion. This seemed special enough. My phone buzzed with a text from Tommy. Saw your handiwork downtown. Nice touch with the paint. You okay? I typed back, never better. Want to grab a drink later? Always. My place or yours? Yours. I need to get out of this house. Tommy's gym was in the kind of neighborhood that gentrification hadn't reached yet, where the buildings were old brick and the rent was still reasonable. It smelled like sweat and leather and honest work, the opposite of my sterile suburban existence. Tommy was waiting with 2 beers and a knowing look. He was built like a fire hydrant with arms, the kind of guy who looked like he could bench press a car but would rather talk his way out of a fight. So, he said, handing me a bottle. Want to tell me what's really going on? I gave him the whole story, from Olivia's suspicious text to Jake's angry phone call. Tommy listened without interrupting, nodding in the right places, his cop instincts still sharp after 5 years of civilian life. Jake Morrison, he said when I finished. Why does that name sound familiar? Rich kid, finance, drives like he owns the roads. No, that's not it. Tommy pulled out his phone and started typing. Morrison. Got it. Jake Morrison, arrested 3 years ago for public intoxication and disorderly conduct. Charges dropped, of course. Daddy's lawyers. He showed me the mugshot. Same smug expression, even while being booked. Interesting, I said. What else you got? Give me a few hours. I still have friends in the department. We drank in comfortable silence for a while, watching late evening joggers through the gym's front windows. Normal people living normal lives, dealing with normal problems like mortgage payments and parent-teacher conferences. But, you know, Tommy said eventually, there's something else you should probably know. What? Your wife's friend, the one who was in that Instagram photo? Cassie Williams? I nodded. Cassie was Olivia's work friend, the one who was always encouraging her to live her best life and not settle for less than she deserved. She was at the Meridian today, too. Saw her in the lobby when I was asking around about your boy Jake. Probably just a coincidence. Maybe. Or maybe she's more involved in this than you think. I considered that. Cassie had always rubbed me the wrong way, with her fake smile and her habit of making little comments about how Olivia could do better if she really wanted to. I'd assumed it was just typical friend drama, the kind of passive-aggressive nonsense that seemed to follow groups of women like a toxic cloud. But what if it was more than that? I need to get home, I said. Olivia should be back soon. You sure you're ready for that conversation? No, but I'm ready to start planning what comes next. Tommy grinned, and for a moment I could see the cop he used to be. Now you're talking. What do you need? Information. Lots of it. And maybe some advice on how to make sure certain people understand that actions have consequences. I can work with that. I drove home through empty suburban streets, past perfect houses with perfect lawns and perfect families having perfect Saturday nights. The American dream, packaged and sold to people who were too busy working to pay for it to actually enjoy it. Olivia's car was in the driveway when I pulled up. She was waiting in the living room, still wearing her red dress, looking like she was preparing for battle. We need to talk, she said. Yes, I agreed. We do. Olivia was sitting on our white leather couch like she was posing for a magazine shoot, legs crossed, hands folded, every inch the successful marketing executive. But her eyes were red-rimmed, and her perfect makeup couldn't hide the guilt written across her face. "Before you say anything," she started, "I want you to know that nothing happened." I sat down in the chair across from her, maintaining eye contact. "Define nothing." We're not. She took a shaky breath. "It's complicated." Complicated. I let the word hang in the air. "You know what's complicated? Quantum physics? Tax law? Explaining to your neighbors why your husband painted 'Hope you packed your dignity' on some guy's windshield." She flinched. "You had no right to do that." "I had no right?" I laughed, and it came out harder than I intended. "Olivia, you lied to me. You told me you were going to a spa with your girlfriends, and instead you spent the weekend in a hotel with Jake Morrison. Jake Morrison, of all people." "How do you even know Jake?" "College. He's the guy who stole my girlfriend junior year. Remember that story? The one about how I learned not to trust people who smile too much?" Her face went pale. "Ryan, I didn't know." "Didn't know what? That he was a lying, cheating piece of shit?" "Because that's pretty much his brand." "It's not like that. He's different now, more mature." "Right. That's why he's sleeping with married women in downtown hotels. Very mature." Olivia stood up and started pacing, her heels clicking on our hardwood floors. "You don't understand. Things between us? They haven't been good for a long time." "Things between us," I repeated. "You mean our marriage, the one you never bothered to mention was having problems?" "I tried to talk to you, but you're always working, always distracted. When was the last time we had a real conversation? When was the last time you looked at me like I mattered?" I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "So this is my fault?" "That's not what I'm saying." "It sounds like that's exactly what you're saying. I work too much, so you decided to have an affair. I don't pay enough attention to you, so you lied to me and snuck around with my old college rival. It's not an affair. We haven't slept together. Yet." She stopped pacing. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm not stupid, Olivia. I saw how you looked at him. I saw how he touched you. This isn't some innocent friendship, and we both know it." We stared at each other across our perfect living room, two people who'd somehow become strangers without noticing when it happened. "So what now?" she asked finally. "Now you tell me the truth, all of it. How long has this been going on? How did it start? Who else knows?" Olivia sank back onto the couch. 6 months, maybe 7. He came to one of our office networking events, and we started talking. He remembered you from college. "I bet he did." "He asked about you, about us. He was charming, interested. He listened when I talked." "And I don't?" "Not like he does. Not like you used to." That stung more than I wanted to admit. "So you decided to have an emotional affair with him." "I decided to have coffee with him. Once. Then it became lunch. Then dinner. Then hotel rooms and lies about spa weekends." "We haven't done anything physical," she insisted. "Not really." "Not really? What does that mean?" "Kissing, some touching, but we haven't had sex." "Oh, well, that makes it completely fine then." "Don't be sarcastic. Don't be naive. You think Jake Morrison is interested in your conversation skills? You think this is some great romance? He's playing a game, Olivia, the same game he played in college. He sees something that belongs to someone else, and he wants it. I don't belong to you." "No, but you're married to me, or at least you were, last time I checked." She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks in black tracks. "I don't know what I want anymore." "Well, that's honest, at least." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Your wife makes interesting sounds when she's excited. Too bad you'll never hear them again." I showed Olivia the screen. Her face went white. "That's not from Jake," she said quickly. "He wouldn't do that." "Wouldn't he? Because this seems exactly like something he'd do." Another text. "Hope you enjoyed the show today. There's more where that came from." Then a photo. Olivia and Jake in the hotel lobby, kissing. The timestamp showed it was taken after I'd left the paint message on his car. "Son of a jerk," I muttered. "Ryan, I swear, I don't know who's sending these." But I was starting to have an idea. "Where's your phone?" "What?" "Your phone. Let me see it." She hesitated, then handed it over. I scrolled through her recent messages. Most were routine. Work stuff, family check-ins, the usual digital debris of modern life. But there was a thread with Cassie Williams that made my blood run cold. Cassie. "How did it go with Jake today?" Olivia. "Good, really good, But Ryan knows something. Cassie. Don't worry about Ryan. He's all bark, no bite. Jake can handle him. Olivia. I feel terrible about lying. Cassie. You deserve to be happy. Don't let guilt ruin this for you. I scrolled further back. Weeks of messages, all of them encouraging Olivia to spend more time with Jake, all of them dismissive of our marriage, all of them pushing her toward this affair. Cassie's been coaching you through this, I said. Olivia looked confused. What do you mean? Your friend Cassie. She's been encouraging you to cheat on me. Look at these messages. Olivia read over my shoulder, her expression changing from confusion to something like horror. I didn't realize... Didn't realize what? That she was manipulating you? That she wanted you to have an affair? But why would she do that? I was starting to understand, and I didn't like where the logic was leading me. Because she doesn't want you to be happy. She wants you to be as miserable as she is. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. 3 years ago, you cost me everything. Time to return the favor. And suddenly, I knew exactly who was behind this. 3 years ago, I said aloud, the pieces finally clicking into place. 3 years ago. Olivia looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. What are you talking about? I was already pulling up my laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. Cassie Williams, your best friend Cassie. When did she start working at your company? About 2 years ago. Why? Because 3 years ago, I got someone fired. Someone who was embezzling from their company's client accounts. Someone who thought they were clever enough to skim money without getting caught. The search results populated on my screen. There it was. Catherine Williams, former financial advisor, terminated for theft of client funds. Charges dropped due to insufficient evidence. Catherine, Cassie. Jesus Christ, I breathed. Ryan, what is going on? I turned the laptop toward her. Your friend Cassie? The one who's been encouraging you to cheat on me? She used to work for Morrison Financial Group, Jake's company, and 3 years ago I was the forensic accountant who caught her stealing. Olivia stared at the screen. That's impossible. Cassie works in marketing. She's never mentioned working in finance. Because she was fired for cause and blacklisted from the industry, she had to completely reinvent herself. I kept typing, pulling up more records. Look at this. Catherine Williams, arrested for embezzlement in 2021. Case dismissed on a technicality, but the damage was done. No financial firm would touch her after that. But how did she end up working with me? Because she researched me, found out where I worked, where my wife worked, and got herself hired at your company specifically to get close to you. This whole thing, your affair with Jake, the lies, the hotel rooms, it's all been orchestrated. I pulled up another screen showing social media connections. Look at this. Cassie and Jake are connected on LinkedIn. They've been connected for 3 years, since before she started working at your company. Olivia was shaking her head. This is crazy. You're saying Cassie planned all of this? That she manipulated me into having an affair just to get back at you? I'm saying she's been playing a very long game, and we've been dancing to her tune without even knowing there was music. My phone rang. Tommy, you need to get down here, he said without preamble. I found some things you need to see. What kind of things? The kind that explain why your wife's friend has been taking pictures of your house for the past 6 months. I felt ice water in my veins. What? Cassie Williams. Real name Catherine Williams. She's been conducting surveillance on you and your wife for months. I've got photos, credit card records, the works. She's been planning this for a long time. I'll be right there. I hung up and looked at Olivia, who was still staring at the laptop screen like it might suddenly make sense. I have to go, I said. Go where? To find out just how deep this rabbit hole goes. Ryan, wait. Even if what you're saying is true, even if Cassie has been manipulating me, that doesn't change the fact that I chose to spend time with Jake. I chose to lie to you. I chose to kiss him. I stopped at the door. No, you're right. You made those choices. But you made them because someone was whispering in your ear, telling you that you deserved better, that I didn't appreciate you, that you should follow your heart. Someone who knew exactly which buttons to push. So what happens now? Now I go find out what else she's been planning, and then I decide what to do about it. Tommy's gym was closed for the night, but he was waiting in his office with a bottle of bourbon and a manila folder thick with documents. Sit down, he said. You're going to need a drink for this. He spread the contents of the folder across his desk like a detective laying out evidence. Photos, printouts, credit card statements, phone records. Your friend Catherine, Cassie, has been very busy, he said. She's been tracking your movements, your wife's schedule, your work patterns. She knows where you shop, where you eat, when you leave for work, when you come home. I picked up one of the photos. It showed me leaving our house on a Tuesday morning, taken from across the street with a telephoto lens. She's been planning this for months, Tommy continued, and maybe longer. She got hired at your wife's company specifically to get close to her. She researched Jake Morrison, found out about your history with him, and arranged for them to meet. How do you know all this? Because she's been sloppy. She paid for surveillance equipment with her credit card. She rented cars to follow you around. She even hired a private investigator to dig up dirt on you. What kind of dirt? Nothing major. Your college grades, your employment history, your mortgage payments. She was looking for leverage, something she could use against you. I flipped through more photos. Olivia leaving work, Olivia at lunch with Cassie, Olivia and Jake at their first accidental meeting. She orchestrated everything, I said. Everything, including today's little photo session. She was there at the hotel, taking pictures, sending you those text messages. She wanted you to know about the affair, but she wanted you to find out in the most humiliating way possible. Why? Just because I got her fired? Because you destroyed her life. She lost her career, her reputation, her fiancé. She had to start over from nothing, and she blames you for all of it. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and drank half of it in one swallow. So what's her endgame? Break up my marriage and then what? I think she wants to destroy you completely. Your marriage, your career, your reputation. She wants you to lose everything the way she did. And she's using my wife to do it. Your wife and Jake Morrison, they're both just weapons in her war against you. I finished my bourbon and poured another. Then I guess it's time to disarm those weapons. What are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time to flip the script. She wants to play games? Fine. But she's about to learn that I'm better at this than she is. Tommy grinned. Now you're talking. What do you need? Everything you can find on Catherine Williams. Her real employment history, her criminal record, her financial situation. And I need to know everything about Jake Morrison. His business, his personal life, his weaknesses. Consider it done. What else? I need to have a conversation with my wife. A real one this time. Because if we're going to survive this, she needs to understand exactly what's been done to us. And if she doesn't want to survive it? I looked at the photos spread across Tommy's desk. Months of surveillance. Months of planning. Months of careful manipulation designed to destroy my life. Then Catherine Williams is going to learn that revenge is a game 2 people can play, I said, and I'm much better at it than she is. I got home at midnight to find Olivia still awake, sitting at our kitchen island with a cup of tea and a pile of tissues. She'd changed out of her red dress into sweatpants and one of my old college t-shirts, looking more like the woman I'd married than she had in months. We need to talk, I said. I know. I've been thinking about everything you said. I spread Tommy's evidence across the granite countertop. Photos, documents, credit card statements. Then you need to see this. For the next hour, I walked her through everything. Catherine Williams' real identity, her history with Jake's company, the months of surveillance and manipulation. Olivia's face went through a spectrum of emotions, disbelief, horror, anger, and finally a cold fury that I'd rarely seen from her. She played me, Olivia said finally, staring at a photo of herself having lunch with Cassie. She completely played me. She played both of us. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Olivia looked up at me, and for the first time in months, I saw the woman I'd fallen in love with. Sharp, determined, and absolutely pissed off. We're going to destroy her, she said. We? You think I'm going to let some psychotic woman manipulate me into wrecking my marriage and then just walk away? Hell no. I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. What about Jake? Olivia's expression hardened. Jake is a symptom. She's the disease, but they both need to pay for this. We spent the rest of the night planning. By dawn, we had a strategy that would have made Machiavelli proud. Phase 1 was information gathering. Tommy had already done the heavy lifting, but we needed more. We needed to understand Catherine's current situation, her vulnerabilities, her pressure points. Phase 2 was isolation. We needed to separate her from her weapons, Jake and any other allies she might have. Phase 3 was exposure. We were going to reveal exactly who Catherine Williams really was, and we were going to do it in the most public, humiliating way possible. There's just one problem, Olivia said as we finalized our plans. She's going to be expecting retaliation. She knows you're not going to just roll over and take this. You're right, which is why we're not going to attack her directly. We're going to let her destroy herself. How? I smiled, and it felt like the first genuine smile I'd had in months. By giving her exactly what she wants. Monday morning, I called in sick to work and drove to Jake's office. Morrison Financial Group occupied 3 floors of a gleaming downtown tower. all marble and mahogany and the kind of aggressive luxury that screamed, "Trust us with your money." Jake's assistant was a perfectly groomed young man who looked like he'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. "I'm sorry, but Mr. Morrison is in meetings all day. Tell him Ryan Mitchell is here. Tell him it's about his weekend activities." 5 minutes later, I was sitting across from Jake in his corner office, looking out at a view that probably cost more per square foot than most people's houses. "You've got balls coming here," Jake said. He was trying to project confidence, but I could see the nervousness in his eyes. "I've got something better than balls. I've got information." I slid a manila folder across his desk. Inside were photos of him and Olivia, credit card receipts from their hotel stays, and a detailed timeline of their affair. "Congratulations," I said. "You're being played." Jake flipped through the documents, his face growing paler with each page. "What is this supposed to prove?" "It's supposed to prove that you're not as smart as you think you are. You remember Catherine Williams, don't you? Used to work here, got fired for embezzlement?" His expression changed. "Cassie. So you do remember her. Did you know she's been orchestrating your entire relationship with my wife? Did you know she's been feeding Olivia lines about how unhappy she is, how she deserves better, how she should follow her heart? That's impossible. Is it? When was the last time you had an original idea about pursuing my wife? When was the last time you made a move that Cassie hadn't suggested first?" I could see him thinking, remembering conversations, realizing how many of his romantic gestures had been Cassie's ideas. "She's using you, Jake, just like she's using my wife. You're both just weapons in her war against me." "Why would she want to hurt you?" "Because 3 years ago, I caught her stealing from her clients. I'm the reason she lost her job, her career, her reputation, and now she wants revenge." Jake leaned back in his leather chair, processing this information. "So, what do you want from me?" "I want you to help me stop her." "Why would I do that?" "Because if you don't, I'm going to make sure everyone in this building knows that you're sleeping with married women and being manipulated by a convicted embezzler. How do you think that's going to play with your father's clients?" His jaw tightened. "You're threatening me." "I'm offering you a choice. Help me expose Catherine Williams, or become collateral damage when I expose her anyway." Jake was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the city skyline. Finally, "What do you need me to do?" "I need you to keep seeing my wife. I need you to act like nothing has changed. And I need you to trust me when I tell you that this is all going to work out in your favor." "How?" "Because when this is over, Catherine Williams is going to be destroyed, and you're going to look like a victim instead of a predator. The alternative is that you go down with her." Jake nodded slowly. "Okay, I'm in." "Good. One more thing. When Catherine inevitably asks you about this meeting, tell her I was here to threaten you. Tell her I was angry and desperate and that you're not worried about me at all." "Why?" "Because the best way to defeat someone who thinks they're smarter than you is to let them think they're winning right up until the moment they lose everything." I left Jake's office and drove straight to Olivia's workplace. She was waiting in the parking garage exactly as we'd planned. "How did it go?" she asked. "He's in. Scared, but in. What about you? Are you ready for this?" "I've been ready since I saw those surveillance photos. Nobody manipulates me like that and gets away with it." "Good, because this next part is going to be the hardest." "What do you need me to do?" "I need you to have lunch with Cassie. I need you to tell her that you're confused about Jake, that you're thinking about ending things with him, and I need you to let her talk you out of it." "Why?" "Because we need her to think she's still in control. We need her to believe that her plan is working perfectly." Olivia nodded. "And then?" "Then we spring the trap." The lunch meeting between Olivia and Cassie took place at Bella Vista, an upscale Italian restaurant where the breadsticks cost more than most people's lunch and the wine list read like a European geography textbook. I watched from across the street through binoculars, feeling like a discount private investigator but getting the job done. Olivia played her part perfectly. I could see her dabbing at her eyes with napkins, looking conflicted and vulnerable. Cassie leaned forward, touching Olivia's hand, playing the concerned friend while carefully maneuvering her back toward Jake. My phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. "She's taking the bait, and telling me I'd be crazy to give up on Jake. Says you're probably bluffing about the surveillance stuff." I texted back. "Perfect. Phase 2 tonight." Phase 2 was a dinner party. Our dinner party, hosted at our house with a carefully curated guest list that included Cassie, Jake, several of Olivia's co-workers, and a few of our neighbors. The kind of suburban social gathering that looked completely innocent, but was actually a carefully orchestrated ambush. I spent the afternoon preparing, setting up hidden cameras in the living room and kitchen, making sure the lighting was perfect, the angles were clear, and the audio would be crisp. If this was going to work, I needed everything documented. Olivia handled the food and decorations, playing the perfect hostess while internally preparing for war. We'd rehearsed this like a stage play, timing every entrance, every conversation, every revelation. The guests started arriving at 7. Jake came first, looking nervous, but trying to hide it behind his usual smug confidence. Cassie arrived 20 minutes later, radiant in a black cocktail dress and armed with a bottle of expensive wine and a predatory smile. "Ryan," she said, air-kissing me like we were old friends. "What a lovely idea, having everyone over. It's been too long since we all got together." "Hasn't it?" I agreed. "I thought it was time we all had a real conversation." For the first hour, everything proceeded normally. Cocktails, small talk, the usual suburban dinner party choreography. Cassie worked the room like a professional, charming the neighbors, bonding with Olivia's coworkers, establishing herself as the life of the party. Jake kept checking his watch and shooting me nervous glances. He was waiting for the other shoe to drop, and he didn't have long to wait. At 8:30, I called for everyone's attention. "Before we sit down to dinner," I said, raising my wine glass, "I'd like to make a toast. To friendship, to honesty, and to the importance of really knowing the people in your life." "Hear, hear," said Bob from next door, raising his glass. "You know," I continued, "it's amazing how people can surprise you. Take our friend Cassie here. I've known her for 2 years, and I just recently learned some fascinating things about her background." Cassie's smile faltered slightly, but she maintained her composure. "Oh, Ryan, you're being dramatic." "Am I? Because I discovered that you used to work in finance. Quite successfully, from what I understand." "I've worked in lots of industries," Cassie said carefully. "Marketing is just my current passion." "Right. But before marketing, you were a financial advisor? At Morrison Financial Group, actually." I gestured toward Jake. "Jake's company. Small world, isn't it?" The room had gone quiet. Everyone was looking between Cassie, Jake, and me, sensing tension, but not understanding its source. "I don't see what that has to do with anything," Cassie said. "Well, it's interesting because 3 years ago, I was hired as a forensic accountant to investigate some irregularities in Morrison Financial's client accounts. Turned out someone had been skimming money. Small amounts, very cleverly done, but theft nonetheless." Cassie's face had gone pale, but she was still trying to maintain her composure. "I really don't think this is appropriate dinner party conversation." "You're right, it's not. But then again, stalking people and manipulating their marriages isn't appropriate either." I pulled out my phone and connected it to our smart TV, the screen filled with surveillance photos. Cassie taking pictures of our house, Cassie following me to work, Cassie meeting with Jake weeks before his accidental encounter with Olivia. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, "meet Catherine Williams, former financial advisor, convicted embezzler, and the architect of an elaborate revenge scheme designed to destroy my marriage." The room erupted. Gasps, shocked murmurs, the sound of wine glasses being set down hard on coffee tables. Cassie stood up, her mask finally slipping. "You son of a jerk." "There she is," I said. "The real Catherine Williams. Tell me, Cassie, how long did it take you to plan all this? How long did you research my wife's personality, looking for the right buttons to push? How long did you spend convincing her that she was unhappy, that she deserved better, that she should have an affair with Jake?" "You destroyed my life," Cassie screamed. "You took everything from me. I caught you stealing from your clients. Elderly people, mostly. Retirees who trusted you with their life savings. I was going to pay it back." "With what? More stolen money?" Jake had gone completely white. "Cassie, is this true? Did you set up my relationship with Olivia?" "Of course I did, you idiot. You think she would have looked twice at you without my help? You think any of this happened by accident?" The room was silent except for the sound of someone's phone recording video. Olivia stood up, her face a mask of cold fury. "You manipulated me. You made me believe I was unhappy. You convinced me to lie to my husband, to sneak around, to throw away 8 years of marriage." "You were unhappy," Cassie shot back. "You just didn't have the courage to admit it. I was content. There's a difference. But you couldn't stand that, could you? You couldn't stand that someone else had what you'd lost. You had everything handed to you. Perfect house, perfect husband, perfect life. And you didn't even appreciate it. So you decided to destroy it. I decided to show you what loss really feels like." I looked around the room at our guests, neighbors, coworkers, friends, all of them staring at Cassie with expressions ranging from shock to disgust. "Well," I said, "I think that's enough excitement for one evening. Cassie, I think it's time for you to leave." "This isn't over," she snarled. "Actually, it is. Because tomorrow morning, I'm sending copies of all this evidence to your current employer, along with the video we just recorded. I'm also sending it to the state licensing board and the local news stations. By the end of the week, everyone in this city is going to know exactly who Catherine Williams really is." Cassie grabbed her purse and headed for the door, then turned back one last time. "You think you've won? You think this fixes your marriage? She still cheated on you. She still chose someone else over you." "You're right," I said. "She did. But she made that choice because you spent months manipulating her into it. And now everyone knows it." After Cassie left, the party broke up quickly. Our guests filed out in awkward silence, probably already composing the texts they were going to send to their friends about the most dramatic dinner party in suburban history. Jake lingered, looking like a man who just watched his life implode. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now you go home and think about what kind of person you want to be," I said, "and you stay away from my wife." After everyone left, Olivia and I sat in our living room, surrounded by empty wine glasses and the detritus of our suburban theater. "Do you think it worked?" she asked. "Oh, it worked. By tomorrow, Cassie's career will be over. Again. And this time, she won't be able to reinvent herself. What about us?" I looked at my wife. Really looked at her, maybe for the first time in months. "I don't know," I said honestly. "You still lied to me. You still chose to have an affair, manipulation or not. I know, and I'm sorry. Sorrier than I can ever express. Sorry isn't enough. I know that too, but it's a start." We sat in silence for a while, processing everything that had happened. "There's something else," Olivia said finally. "Something I need to tell you." My stomach clenched. "What?" "When I was with Jake, when I was lying to you, sneaking around, I kept thinking about you, about us, about what I was throwing away, and I realized that Cassie was wrong about one thing." "What's that?" "I wasn't unhappy. I was bored. There's a difference. And boredom isn't a reason to destroy a marriage." "No, it's not." "So what do we do now?" I thought about everything that had happened, the lies, the manipulation, the elaborate revenge scheme that had nearly destroyed our lives. "Now we decide if we want to rebuild this marriage or end it," I said. "But we make that decision based on who we really are, not on what some bitter, twisted woman convinced us we should feel." Olivia nodded. "I'd like to try rebuilding, if you're willing." I looked at her, seeing both the woman I'd married and the woman she'd become, and realized that maybe they weren't so different after all. "I'm willing to try," I said. The fallout from our dinner party moved through our suburban community like a wildfire in a drought. By Tuesday morning, the video of Cassie's meltdown had been shared across every neighborhood social media group, every workplace chat thread, every PTA phone tree in a 20-mile radius. Tommy called me at work, laughing so hard he could barely speak. "Dude, you're a legend. My wife's book club has been talking about nothing else. They're calling it the Millbrook Heights Massacre." "That's a bit dramatic." "Is it? Because from what I hear, Cassie Williams has been completely excommunicated. Nobody will talk to her, nobody will hire her, and her landlord is trying to evict her for disturbing the peace of the community." I felt a twinge of something that might have been guilt, but it passed quickly. She brought this on herself. Damn right she did. What about Jake? "Jake's been keeping a low profile. I heard his father is sending him to manage their Portland office. Apparently the family business doesn't need the kind of publicity that comes with being manipulated by a convicted embezzler." "And Olivia?" I looked across the office toward the conference room where my wife was presenting a marketing proposal to a room full of executives. She'd thrown herself into work with renewed focus, as if professional success could somehow balance out personal failure. "We're trying," I said. "Marriage counseling, date nights, actual conversations about our feelings. It's weird and uncomfortable and probably necessary." "You think you'll make it?" "I honestly don't know, but for the first time in months, I want to find out." That evening, Olivia and I met for dinner at Romano's, a family-owned Italian place that had been our go-to restaurant back when we were dating. The food was good, the atmosphere was comfortable, and nobody there knew us well enough to whisper about our recent drama. "I got a call from Cassie today," Olivia said over her chicken parmesan. I nearly choked on my wine. What did she want? To apologize, supposedly, and to ask if I could help her find a new job. "Please tell me you hung up on her." I did better than that. I recorded the call. Olivia pulled out her phone and played the audio. Cassie's voice came through the speaker, whiny and desperate. "Liv, you have to understand. I was just trying to help you. I saw how unhappy you were, how Ryan was taking you for granted. I thought if you could see what else was out there." Olivia's recorded response was ice cold. You manipulated me into having an affair because you wanted to destroy my husband's life. That's not helping, Cassie. That's sociopathic. But we were friends. I care about you. Friends don't lie to each other for months. Friends don't orchestrate elaborate revenge schemes. And friends definitely don't use each other as weapons. The recording ended with Cassie sobbing and Olivia hanging up. Wow, I said. Remind me never to get on your bad side. Too late for that. We ate in comfortable silence for a while, watching other couples navigate their own relationship dramas with varying degrees of success. Do you think we're going to be okay? Olivia asked eventually. Define okay. Do you think we're going to stay married? Do you think we can get past this? I considered the question seriously. I think we're going to be different. I don't think we can go back to who we were before all this happened. Is that good or bad? I don't know yet. Ask me in a year. What if I asked you right now, in this moment, do you still love me? I looked at my wife across the table. Really looked at her. She'd lost weight over the past few weeks, stress carving sharp angles into her face. But her eyes were clearer than they'd been in months, like someone had finally turned on a light in a room that had been dark for too long. Yes, I said. I still love you. I'm angry at you, and I don't trust you completely, and I have no idea if we can make this work. But I still love you. That's something, at least. It's everything. The rest we can figure out as we go. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. For a moment, I thought it might be Cassie, but the message was from Jake. Thought you should know. Cassie tried to contact my father today. Claimed you and Olivia framed her, that she was the real victim in all this. He told her if she ever contacted our family again, he'd have her arrested for harassment. I showed the message to Olivia. She shook her head. She's never going to take responsibility for what she did, is she? People like Cassie don't. In her mind, she's always the victim, everyone else is always the villain, and nothing is ever her fault. How do you know so much about people like her? Because I've been one. Different circumstances, but the same basic psychology. When I was younger, I blamed everyone else for my problems. My parents, my teachers, my girlfriends, society in general. It took me years to realize that the common denominator in all my failures was me. What changed? I met you, and for the first time in my life, I had something worth taking responsibility for. Olivia reached across the table and took my hand. I'm sorry I forgot that. I'm sorry I let someone else convince me that what we had wasn't worth fighting for. I'm sorry I gave you reasons to doubt it. We finished dinner and drove home through suburbs that looked exactly the same as they had a week ago but felt completely different. The perfect lawns and perfect houses were still there, but now I understood that they were just facades. Everyone was dealing with their own drama, their own secrets, their own versions of Cassie Williams. The difference was that we'd chosen to face ours head-on instead of letting it destroy us from the inside. At home, we found a package on our doorstep. No return address, just our names written in block letters across brown paper. Inside was a flash drive and a note. Everything I have on both of you. Consider it a parting gift. C. I plugged the drive into my laptop. It contained hundreds of photos, documents, recordings, months of surveillance and research. Our daily routines, our work schedules, our friends and family members, even recordings of private conversations she'd somehow managed to capture. Jesus, Olivia breathed, scrolling through the files. She was completely obsessed. She was completely insane. Look at this. I opened a document labeled Ryan Mitchell, Psychological Profile. It was a detailed analysis of my personality, my weaknesses, my triggers, everything someone would need to know to manipulate me effectively. There was a similar file for Olivia and another for Jake. Cassie had studied us like lab rats, mapping out our behaviors and relationships with scientific precision. This is evidence, I said. We could have her arrested for stalking. Do you want to? I thought about it. Part of me wanted to see Cassie in handcuffs, wanted her to face legal consequences for what she'd done to us. But another part of me just wanted her gone, erased from our lives completely. No, I said finally. She's already destroyed. Anything else would just be piling on. Are you sure? I'm sure. Besides, the best revenge is living well, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I deleted the files and threw the flash drive in the trash. Some things were better left buried. That night, Olivia and I sat on our couch and talked until 3 a.m. Really talked, maybe for the first time in years. About our marriage, our careers, our dreams, our fears. About the people we'd been and the people we wanted to become. It wasn't a magical healing moment. We didn't suddenly fix 8 years of growing apart in one conversation, but it was a start. And sometimes a start is all you need. 3 months later, I ran into Jake at a coffee shop downtown. He was waiting in line ahead of me, looking tired and older than his 36 years. "Ryan," he said when he saw me. "How are you doing?" "Good. You?" "I've been better. Portland's nice, though. Different pace of life." "I heard about the transfer." "Yeah, well, Dad thought it would be good for me to get a fresh start, away from all the drama." We stood in awkward silence for a moment. "For what it's worth," Jake said finally, "I'm sorry. About everything. I knew you were married, and I pursued your wife anyway. That was wrong, regardless of what Cassie was or wasn't doing behind the scenes. I appreciate that." "How are you and Olivia doing?" "We're working on it. Some days are better than others." Jake nodded. "I hope it works out for you, both of you." "Thanks." He got his coffee and left, and I never saw him again. But I heard through the suburban gossip network that he eventually married a nice woman from Oregon and started coaching Little League baseball. People can change, apparently, given the right motivation. As for Cassie, she disappeared completely. Some people said she moved back east to live with family. Others claimed she'd changed her name again and started over in a different city. I didn't really care, as long as she stayed out of our lives. The important thing was that Olivia and I survived. Our marriage looked different than it had before. More honest, more fragile, more intentional. We went to counseling, we had difficult conversations, we learned to trust each other again slowly and carefully. It wasn't the fairy tale ending that movies promised, but it was real. And after everything we'd been through, real was exactly what we needed. 6 months after the dinner party, Olivia and I renewed our wedding vows in a small ceremony with just our immediate families present. It wasn't because we'd recaptured some perfect love, but because we'd decided that imperfect love was still worth fighting for. During the ceremony, I looked out at our small gathering and realized that this was what victory looked like. Not the dramatic confrontation or the public humiliation of our enemies, but this quiet moment of choosing each other again, despite everything that had tried to tear us apart. Cassie Williams had wanted to destroy my life, and in a way, she had. The life I'd been living before, comfortable, complacent, taking everything for granted, was gone forever. But what we'd built in its place was stronger, more honest, and more deliberately chosen. She'd wanted me to lose everything. Instead, I'd learned what was actually worth keeping.